Hi, I'm Dave Roberts and this is Angling Escapades. Hello and welcome to Angling Escapades for the weekly vlog, and you join me. We are on the Belmont section of the River Wye today at Hereford. Monty's with me, he's got his lovely red coat on. He loves that coat, it's been a godsend this week. We've had absolute miserable weather, very cold on the weekend. Real tough fishing conditions, but and today's no different. It's wet, it's windy, but there's a reason I'm here, and there's a reason I'm actually here because we've fished this week, we've had guests in this week, and we've had some brilliant days fishing. Belmont, as we know it, is absolutely on fire. There's roach, perch, chublets, everything's coming out. Even when we had a rise on Monday and Tuesday with snow melt water, the roach fed, and it's been absolutely brilliant. But what occurred to me is when we've been going there, we've been very much on the right bank. Everyone knows the right bank, the 80s and 90s if you know the venue. It's very prolific and everybody seems to be cramming there. We got there at just before 7:30 yesterday morning, and every peg in the 90s was taken, and in the end people were walking elsewhere because they couldn't get a swim. Now the reality is yes, when it's cold, we saw it in match results on the weekend that when it's cold all the fish cram down there. But what we've actually got at the moment is an absolutely perfect river. Let me just show you this. Now it won't be like this for long because this rain today will probably bring it back up again, but if we look at the river here, I mean it's still got a tinge of colour. Air temperature today is about 8 degrees. I will take the water temperature in a bit, but I feel up here, now bear in mind on this, I think this swim here blanked on the weekend. There was blanks all on that bank and this bank. People were blanking, and because the river had gone very low and clear, very cold, and the fish just didn't. There was an odd fish caught up here, but it was very hard. But I feel now that it's warmed up a bit, and now we've had this little rise of water and we've got this colour in the water, that I think there should be fish up here. Now, as I say, the whole Belmont thing is very much, that's where everybody wants to go because they want to catch the big bags of roach, and rightly so. But I feel here now that this is my favourite time of year on the river, because now the bleak die out a little bit, or they move off, or they tighten up, whatever they do, and you can actually loose feed, you can fish strung out rigs and things like that. And I think this swim here, I did a video a few years ago on here where I caught some roach, but I feel like today in these conditions with the water temperature down but a nice tinge of colour, if we can get some bites here, if we can catch some roach, they'll be decent, they'll be the bigger roach. Especially it's a dark old day, and I think as the as the sort of light fades later on, I mean we're midway through the day already, I'm a bit late starting really, but I think as the light fades later we'll have a chance of some nice fish. So I'm really, that's what I'm hoping for, chance of some big perch as well, maybe some chublets and dace, but who knows. But first aim will be to get a bite, but I do feel that by working at it here we could have some real quality fishing, and just something away from the sort of the madding crowd, if you like. I don't know whether that's the right term, but something away from the crowds anyway. Will might give us a really nice day's fishing. So I'll just show you what I've set up. So I've just set up 2 stick float rods. Like I say, this time of year I just love stick float fishing, and I've gone, because I'm fishing for roach and I'm on stick float, I've gone proper traditional. Got my John Allerton's out. John Allerton, that's a 15-footer, legend that he is, and legendary rods. And these rods are just made for stick float fishing. That's what they were made for. But I've also, I think TriCast did better than a lot of manufacturers. They always did. Their splice tips were just so perfect, so true. There was never a flat spot, and you get a bend right through. And I use these rods for everything. This actual rod I caught 200 pound of chub on last year in the 2-day festival. They're just, I think John would probably have a fit if I told him that. But the way we fish with them those days. But ultimately, they're just a brilliant stick float rod. And still to this day, and I get to see all manner of equipment and rods and that. But there's still something about these rods that I just love using them and catching fish, and especially if I can catch roach on a stick float, then I'm just absolutely in heaven. Now, stick floats, what I've done is I've set up 2 stick floats. I've avoided setting up a bollo or an avon because I just feel like strung out rigs are just the best thing for when you're fishing with loose feed, as I'm going to be today. You know, I've got lots of room, you know, I'm not in a match, I don't have to sort of try and pin the fish down in one place, so I can string my rigs out and you know, let it go with the flow and just work and use a sort of strung out pattern to really search the peg. So the float I've got on my main line, that's a DH Angling dome top stick. That's a 14 number 4. Really nice patterns these are. And I'm going to fish this one out in the flow a little bit. And what I'm basically going to do is feed 2 lines, which are going to be fairly close together actually, but I'm just going to feed one like sort of a rod length out, and that's going to be my starting line. I'm going to search right down the swim and hopefully draw fish into the swim on that and get a bite on that. And then I've got a lighter one set up for a bit of curb crawling down the inside, which again I love. But the stick floats are very similar in pattern and very similar in shotting. Now I've shot these with, again, this sort of tapered strung out thing, so basically no shot until halfway down the rig. Actually it's probably bottom third on this one, and then I've shot these with number 8s. Now this is very laborious and hard work to do. You can see how many shots we've got on there, but the simple fact is the law states that we have to use lead. We can only use lead in sizes of number 8 or smaller. So on there may be probably 35 or so number 8 shots. Now you could use like normal number 6s, number 4s, non-toxic shots, and you could still get the lay and fall and get the presentation, but they do have a tendency, once they've been used a bit, to move around a lot more. I find these stay in position. So it takes a lot of time to do these rigs, and I don't like tying rigs, but you know, just sort of doing it once a year or once, you know, that rig will last me a couple of years as long as it doesn't get hammered too much. But the important thing about this shotting pattern is it's, you know, it sort of tapers out as it gets to the water, so the shots are further apart as you go down the rig, and I haven't got a shot anywhere within 12 inches of my hook. Okay, and then they just sort of get a bit closer together as they go up, closer together until they're virtually, you can see the distance between the top, probably 3 or 4 mil. And what you get with that, as I've explained this before, but ultimately you get a real smooth, if you hold the float back, you get a real smooth lift, and if you let it go, you get, you know, when it's falling, it's getting a real smooth fall. And the other advantage, the big advantage I think of a strung out pattern, is if you're mending the line, you know, or if your float's moving around, you know, we've got wind blowing in our face today, so it's not ideal. But if you move that float, it kind of cushions that. If you've got a bulk, if you've got an Olivet or whatever, and the float moves, then that moves as well quite suddenly. Whereas with these sort of strings of shot, it cushions that. So it's always better for presentation, you know, and you really, like, so many of your bites come when you hold the float back and then let it go, because you're just getting that wonderful sort of slow fluttering hook bait. So that's why I opted, and I've opted for that pattern on both rigs. And don't get me wrong, you know, if I was in a competition or I was looking to fish mid-river or further out, you know, there'd be a bollo setup, maybe an avon setup, you know, if conditions were a bit trickier. I've got a size 14 hook on there, which I'll just be fishing like double maggot. I'm going to loose feed maggots, bronze maggots and hemp on the longer line, and I'm going to trickle caster on the inside with the hope that we might catch an odd fish on single caster on the inside, whereas we know some of these bigger fish can hang around. So this pattern, this is my lighter one, and again I've gone with this is the 13-foot John Allerton. Okay, so it's proper traditional today. But this float is actually a Premier float, and I think the writing's worn off it, but no, it's not. It says 9 number 6 on there, and you can see that. So that says 9 number 6, and that's probably equivalent to like a 6 number 4, something like that. But again, exactly the same shotting. You've got this tapered sort of shotting pattern. Just move those about a little bit. There we go. All in the bottom third. So again, I get that lift and fall. Just complete mirror image of the other rig, but lighter, you know, because obviously it's not flowing so hard on the inside, and you don't need as much weight. And that's what it's about really, is balance, making sure that your hook bait can act in a natural way, so your float's not too heavy, so it's like bogging it down, but also not too light that you don't get any control at all. So those are my 2 rigs, and that's the setup. What I'm going to do, I say, is start by feeding. I can feed everything by hand today. I don't need catapults because I'm quite close to, you know, where I want to fish. So it'll be hemp in front of me, maggots slightly upstream, and then I'll be trickling casters on the inside here, and that will hopefully, might take a while, but hopefully we'll get a few bites doing that. So like I said, I'm going to start feeding now before I start, because I think it's going to take a while to get bites. I think I'll get bites, but I think it might just take a while to draw them in. So I can get some bait in there. Like I say, maggots upstream, hemp in front of me, and then casters just flicking them upstream there. So these are going to come down underneath my nose here and sort of get to the bottom, quite close confines. So I'm fishing that 13-foot rod on this inside, and I can do proper. It's proper nice and clean, this swim. It's like probably about 8 foot deep off the bank, and you can, hopefully if there's any roach about, we'll catch some there. So just literally just flicking it off your net, and sometimes I'll just flick it downstream as well. Just getting that column of bait as I always talk. So right, so I'll keep feeding and that before I start fishing, but I'm just going to do a bit of housekeeping first. So where are we at with the river? So we had obviously the coldest week of the year last week. We had snow. We didn't have much snow here actually. There was snow in other parts of the country and definitely on the hills. Sub-zero, -5 at night, just horrendous. Sent the river very low, very clear, and we just knew the river was going to sort of be hard in places. Now we did some guiding last week, and we actually caught, because we stayed down in the town where all the fish were. It doesn't matter how cold it gets down there, you still catch fish. So we caught fish last week. We had a nice day on the River Lug as well, caught some chub there, and we were able to keep catching, but it was cold. And then come the weekend, we had the second round of or third round, we cancelled the second round, third round of our winter league, and everyone knew it was going to be feast or famine. If you were up this end or higher up, that it was going to be, just get a bite. And down that end, where all the fish are, probably have a great day. I have to say, it's a long time since I've fished in such miserable conditions, and I drew at the very top end of the river on peg 6, which is definitely not where you want to be. But I was one of the lucky ones. I managed to get a bite or two. Only grayling. I had 4 grayling. That kept me warm. I took the kettle up there with me. I just thought, well, it's going to be hard, but I'm going to try and get a bite. And I got, I got a few bites. I was one of the lucky ones, and it was so hard up there. I think my 4 grayling weighed just under 3 pounds and won me 100 quid. So it wasn't actually a bad day for me, but a lot of people really suffered with blanks, and that's it. But then the flip side to that is you come down into the town here and it's just mad. It was chub city. The river had gone clear, so lots of chub showing. A terrific weight by Jason Bean to win the match with 173 pound, I think it was, off that peg 96. But I have to say, it's renowned for its big weights. But in those conditions, it literally having frozen solid for 2 days prior, it then rained all day. This freezing, horrible rain. So fishing was hard, and to do that sort of style of fishing, where you've got to get out in the water, and how cold it was, I have to say it was an incredible performance, and well done, Jason. But that was backed up with other weights. Hadrian Whittle was second for 148 pounds. Again, chub. I think he caught a lot of those on the pole, and lots of weights around. Dave Howell had 103 pounds below him, and there was another 127 pounds down by the bridge. So it was just chub everywhere. Even on this bank as well, there was like 70s, 60s, just everything just crammed down there. It's an enigma. We don't know why they do it, but up here, literally less than 100 yards above, they're struggling for a bite. But that's how it is, as I say. Then we had the rain. And we've had, sort of a rise, and I was expecting it to be hard this week because the snow melt water gone in it. But actually, the fishing's been brilliant. It's been absolutely epic, and we've had some great days with guests this week. And that's why I wanted to try this today, because I feel the river is in really good condition, and I say the air temperature. So let's have a look at the water temperature, see where we're up to with that, because I imagine it must have dropped since the last time I did it. Helps if your thermometer works. We've got a flat battery. There you go, that's unfortunate. My batteries have run out of the thermometer, so I can't tell you what the water temperature is. I would have a guess that the water temperature is somewhere around 6 or 7 degrees. I might be wrong on that, but we've had snow melt water come through it, so it must have chilled considerably. But it's not a level, I don't think, that where the fish just shut down. You get to those sort of 3 and 4 degrees, and then it becomes really hard to catch anywhere. So like I say, the water temperature will have definitely dropped since last week, but hopefully still warm enough to get some bites. So we'll start now. Now I'm going to start out in the flow and really search right down the swim and see what fish are about. That's my small rod. So I've plumbed up, and as ever, I managed to catch my other rod. Tell you what, I'm having a good day so far. So obviously it's deeper further out, shallower closer in. And all I do when I plumb up, I just plumb up, just get near the bottom. It's not an exact science, and the depth you start at won't be the depth you finish at. So what I do is just put a plummet on, get somewhere, get it touching bottom, so I know my hook bait's somewhere near the bottom, and then I just start fishing, and I can just adjust. I can add depth on and take it off or whatever, But ultimately, to start with, it's just a case of getting it somewhere near the bottom, getting it in the bottom sort of foot or so of water, and running it. But this is nice easy fishing here, because all I'm doing is literally just laying it out like that. Hemp, maggots, casters, and I'll just let it run to start with. It's such a lovely pace at the moment, it's just so easy to fish. All I'm going to do is just inch it through. The good thing with this heavier rig, like I say, it's a 14 number 4 stick, so it's a good weight. So I know my bait's down, but I can run it through or I can slow it down. But it's such a nice pace to fish. Even with this, I've got this wind into my face here, and it's still very, very easy to fish. So hopefully, what I'm hoping is we'll get a few bites, and then I can switch to this inside line. We've got a real hankering for some big roach. Yeah, that's going through very nicely. There we go, there's our first fish. That didn't take long. Feels like a decent fish. I think it might be a roach. And that is exactly what I came for. Oh, look at that. And that's the first fish of the day. Look at that. That is perfection. That's heaven for me, that is. Stick float, maggots, John Allerton rod, pound roach, first fish of the day. Well, that was earlier than I expected, I'll be honest. Thought I might have to really work hard to get my bites, which, don't get me wrong, you've got to do things right, but ultimately to get a bite that early is a bonus, and it tells me there's fish here. I don't have to wait long. Hopefully a sign of things to come. And as ever with this sort of fishing, you know, you're going to be ultimately looking for that hot spot. You know, you're building up a swim, we're loose feeding, just loose feeding today. The reason I'm not putting grain ratings is because I don't feel I need to. I'm not looking to hold the fish in one spot. You know, it's not like I've got to get them lined up on a pole or, you know, really sort of having, I'm just fishing, you know, I can just feed loose feed and it just draws more fish in. You know, it's not, I'm not worried about my bait being intercepted by bleak all the time and things like that. I can just loose feed. But as ever, you know, I'll be looking for that spot in the swim where the float goes under each time. You know, that hot spot, that killing zone where you just know it goes into that area, and that's probably where bite's going to come from. And you build that up over, you know, a period of hours maybe sometimes. You know, you're sort of constant feeding, but it's that uniformity of feeding in the same spot every time. Building the swim up that then creates that one area of the swim where the fish are sat, and it might be a certain depth, it might be a certain spot in the swim, and it's all to do with where that loose feed is landing each time, or where they're intercepting it rather. And on the good days, that spot, that hot spot, is not very far down the swim. There you go. I've had a few runs through there since that fish, and I've not had a bite since. So it just goes to show it's not like there's like just tons of fish there, and you know, you just sit down and bag up. We're going to have to work at it. But I say an early fish always gives you that nice early indication. Oh. Right, that was right up the swim, that was right on top of the feet. Looks like a decent fish as well. So that would have been right underneath where that hemp's sort of getting down. Oh, came off. That was interesting. Felt like a decent fish, just wonder whether it was maybe foul hooked or something. But that was right underneath where I'd expect that hemp to be getting down into that bottom third, so even more encouragement. So I brought with me today, I've got about 4.5 pints of maggots, a few tins of hemp, got a pint of casters in there. I have got another pint in reserve if I need them, but I feel like today, to be honest, I don't think I'm going to need to feed lots, because I'm only trickling casters on the inside line. It's just enough just to trickle through. Say it's not like you're trying to feed off small fish. Just got to create that trail. At this stage, I'm not doing anything fancy with the float. You know, I'm not sort of holding it back much or, you know, slowing it down. I'm just running it through and just checking it occasionally. And what I tend to find is once I find an area where the fish are, you know, where the float's going under or where the fish seem to be sitting, then I'll be more inclined to sort of hold it back in that area. When it gets to that area, I'll just give it a little check and just slow it down. Or if I feel that they need that sort of tantalising, fluttering hook bait, then I might do more of it. But ultimately, to start with, just explore the swim, get that column of bait going, find where the fish are. Like a bite. See, feeding all the time, just missed a bite, but I'm going to let it run again, so just feed again. fair to say this autumn and now winter, the weather has just been incredible. I've never known it like it. It's just so, you know, even though we've had the cold spell, it's just so wet still. The water table is so high, and the river's never really set, except for that one match on the weekend where we were in a low clear river. But even then, it was raining all day. We're going to get this today. We're going to get more. We're going to get more tomorrow, and the river will be up and down again. It's we don't want low clear rivers and long cold spells, but it would be nice just to have, like I say, the reason I wanted to come today because the river is just in perfect condition. It looks fantastic, and if we could just wish we could get some of these rivers for our matches, because we just haven't. It's just been constantly high. That said though, the results haven't been bad considering. Ooh. That felt like a snag then because it just didn't move when I hooked it. And now it's moving. I'd say that's probably a big perch. Well, I never. Look at that. Now you don't catch many of those here. That is a hybrid. Now we've seen a few of these this year. Caught one in a match early on in the year, but a few people have been catching them. They're absolutely beautiful. We've never caught them like that here in any numbers, but they seem to have appeared all of a sudden. What a beautiful fish that is. Well, this is brilliant so far. I wonder if that's what I lost before. Right, so that again, that was right down where that hemp is going to be sort of getting right down, you know. I wouldn't say it's on the bottom or hitting the bottom there, but it's close. sort of slowed it up, just where I thought, you know, sort of the place where I'd expected a lot of my hemp to be landing and hitting bottom. There's another decent fish. Oh, these things are following me around at the moment. A lady of the stream. I'll tell you what, I caught 4 of these on Sunday and I was never more delighted to catch them. Now I don't want to catch them today, but nothing but respect for these little beauties. Let's see if we can get her fin up for you. I mean, it's the time of year for grayling, but you've got to be careful with them. They are temperamental little creatures. And you can see that fin. Beautiful red fin. She's not going to put it up for me. I don't blame her. Not going to put her in the keep net. I'm going to put her straight back. You know it's winter when you're catching grayling. Lovely. Oh well, it's another bite. Not the species we want, but a bite. Just tripping bottom there. I think just occasionally it drags under. I don't think it's bites. It's just dragging under. But I like that. That's the presentation I want. You know, I want to be touching bottom, and then when I sort of hold it up, hold the float back, I get that rise. Oh, that's nice. Right in the zone where I'd want them to be catching. Feel a very big fish, that one. You know what, I'm still going to land it there. I'm not in any rush today. These fish are just too nice. A lovely little roach. And that's been sort of, to be honest, this week the fish we've been catching downstream, that's been sort of standard size really, just really nice to catch. You know, swinging quite a few, but occasionally putting the net under a slightly bigger one. And sort of in match catches, if you catch them that size, they're very nice. They're good weight builders. Rain's just becoming a bit more persistent now, which I expected. It was all forecast. So. It's funny, every roach you have, you tend to feel a little bit warmer. this time I am going to say perch again. Playing like a big roach. it's another grayling. Oh dear, you just do not know what this river is going to throw at you. There's people on Sunday would have been dreaming of catching one of them. And I can't get away from them. Let's see if this one will get. And a nice fish as well for great. You know, they're not big in this part of the river. The bigger fish, the bigger grayling. If you go grayling fishing, the bigger ones tend to be upriver. They catch them up at Bilth and places like that. They catch them up to £2 up there. But you know, anything above sort of 12 ounces at this part of the river is a big grayling. Let's see if this one will hold her fin up for us. No, she just wants to go home. Come on, lady. Lady of the stream. Oh, nearly got the fin up. Come on, let's get you back. There you go. Bless him. Well, I really don't want to catch any more grayling. I'll be honest. As much as they pull hard, and they're great fun, I want a roach. It's still very early on in the session. Really, it's not. I don't feel like our trails are bait. You know, our columns of bait will really be at the complete stage yet. I feel like we'll still be settling things into position. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take that, put 6 inches on, I'm going to take that off, and I'm going to take another 6 inches on, I'm going to come up off bottom. 6 inches off, another 6 inches off there. Rain's just annoying enough. It's just getting things wet enough, and maggots are starting to crawl a bit, so I'm going to have to cover them up in a minute. Oh, yeah. Roach, I think, this time. Lovely. So that worked. Just taking that 6 inch, coming 6 inches off bottom. The second run through, we've had a bite. So again, little changes. Feeling your way in, you know, you've got to find that, you're looking for that golden method, you know, that golden sort of setup, that finding where the fish are sat, where they're intercepting the bait, the right depth and the right spot in the swim. I say no 2 days are the same, you know. I could come here tomorrow if it was in exactly the same conditions and it would be completely different. That's a nice roach. They're the ones we want. Absolutely thin, perfect belters. Now we're getting them lined up. Again, at the moment, I don't know what each fish is going to be. They're not playing like big roach or big perch or grayling. I just don't know. It's a perch. There we go. Again, everything we have is of stamp of quality. Not getting pestered by any little fish. Good pound, that one. Beautiful fish to catch. Great fun on, you know, not fishing heavy gear. You know, nothing. Nice action rods. Playing every fish. And obviously we still haven't, you know, we're not going to have a go on our inside line just yet. I'm going to keep building that up because I do feel now that we've caught fish on this, I do feel we'll catch on that, and that could be really nice. But I'm just going to keep building that up and save that for, you know, maybe feed it for 2 hours, 2.5 hours before I go on it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think if I went on it now there'd be a chance of a bite, but it's nice to get those fish, let them get their confidence up. And now we, you know, this is starting to get going now. It's I've been fishing about 2 hours now, and I'm getting bites regularly on that big stick, and it's phenomenal. It's just exactly what I hoped for, you know, exactly what I love doing, working. You have to work for every bite. It's not easy, you know, they're not just hanging themselves, but everything, when you do hook one, it's a decent fish, and just a lot of nice decent roach, and a couple of big perch as well, so that's brilliant. I've been feeding this cast on this inside line now for 2 hours, and hoping that there might be some roach sat tight in there, so I'm going to pick up the lighter rod and have a trundle along the inside and see what's there. First fish on the inside, and you can see the stamp is there. Taking a while to get a bite there. Well, there you go, folks. Another very plump, fin perfect, stunning Y roach. Catching on a 13-foot rod, off the rod end. A little bit of hemp, a little bit of maggots, few casters. Just absolutely stunning fishing. It just doesn't. This is angling nirvana for me. This is me. I don't want anything. You know, if you could just say one method for the rest of your life, one fish, one species, one method. This is it, right here. And I think it just shows. You know, like I say, there's a lot of people fishing lower down the river. You know, because that's the hot area, and you can literally catch one every bung, but there's something very satisfying when you've got to work and trying to get tangled around the end of the rod. Yeah, there's something very satisfying about when you've got to really sort of present the bait, you know. It's not just a case of getting them in one spot and getting them on a pole line over ground bait, that sort of thing. That's all great, you know, in matches and what have you, but when you can actually, you know, you work in the swim, you're sort of building it up and getting fish feeding at different depths and being able to catch close in as well. It's just brilliant fishing. But it's that time of year, I'm afraid. It's only just gone 3 o'clock and it's almost too dark, so I'm just about there now. I'm just I've probably only fished about 3 hours, but you know, I've got a decent weight of fish. But it's not even this. It's not about the weight of fish. It's just about the quality of the fish. It's absolutely, you know, just everything has been of a good stamp. I could have pretty much put the net under everything today. Now the light's going, now I'm catching very close in, so I'm almost too far out. Even a 13-foot rod's almost too long. But you're not having to go far for a bite. The weather has been sour, there's no two ways about it. And unfortunately the river will be rising again tomorrow, which is why it was important to come and do this today, because I just felt like it was an opportunity was there, and it just proves how mad this river is. Like I say, anglers here on Sunday were blanking. 5 days ago they were blanking everywhere up here. It was like there wasn't a fish up here, or hardly a fish up here, and yet today you're having the most beautiful roach on stick float tight to the bank. And it just goes to show that's all about conditions. So I don't really know what to expect for the week ahead, really. I think we've got some, we're going to have some up and down levels. I say a river rising tomorrow. I don't think it's going to be big enough to do it, you know, to do any flooding or anything like that. But it's certainly going to be rising again tomorrow with this rain, and then there's a bit more on Saturday, I think. So the sport's going to be a little bit patchy at times, I think. But if you can get on the bank, there's plenty of fish willing to feed. You know, and as I say, when the river drops clearer, the chub are feeding, bit of colour in, the roach are feeding. If you know, and apparently they're catching roach at Ross now as well. That's nice. That's right under the rod tip there. Oof. Could be a perch, that one. Yeah, catching roach and dace at Ross, which don't usually, you know, the last few years they haven't caught them at this time of year there, so that's good news. Barbel sports is slow, as you'd expect. 70, our Winter League match on Sunday, 72 anglers. There was only 2 barbel caught in the whole match, so you know, on a bitter cold river, it's kind of what you'd expect. But yeah, you know, but they're still there to be caught. And I say today might have been a good day to have a go at them. 8 degrees. So I don't know what the water temperature is, but it's certainly worth having a go. Now here we go. What we got here? We've got a chub. That's the first one of them today. Again, and they're great fun on, like I say, a little 13-foot rod. And this is what the big weights were on the weekend. Lots of these fish. There's absolutely loads of them in the river. So there you go. So yeah, if you're, it's definitely worth going out, and as today's proved, sometimes it's worth sitting in the rain, even though it's miserable. The fishing keeps you warm. So good luck if you're out. Tight lines, and we'll keep bringing you information on the river and hopefully a bit of fish action.